As many of you know by now, internet icon, mukbanger, and professional train wreck Nikocado Avocado has recently had one of the most historic moments on the internet. The world watched as he went from a vegan YouTuber to bitter towards the vegan community, then calling out Trisha Paytas and others while becoming a compelling, obese disaster himself. Now, after 2 years of hard work and recording a backlog of videos beforehand to convince the public that he was still eating the way he was, he has revealed that he lost the weight, 250 pounds. The weight loss itself can't really be understated. Even though that's not what this video is about, it truly is stunning to see such a turnaround. I didn't think that in the year 2024, Nikocado would be thinner than most Americans, thinner than I am. The general reception for his reveal video has been very positive. Most people seem to be understandably shocked and revere this as one of the greatest moments on the internet, and I agree. There's something that Mudahar said that I also agree with, but I think the way he says it is a bit of an oversimplification.
Nikocado Avocado was kind of like a YouTube villain for a while. You know, he was buying these quote-unquote $2.3 million penthouses where he was obviously playing a character.
It's called Watch the World Struggle. Oh, it's a fun show. You know, I sit up here in my tower and watch everyone struggle and be poor.
This is clearly a character that he's playing, obviously.
It is obvious that Nikocado has been playing a character, but to what extent? How much of this started as an act, then became habit? Just how addicted to food is he? The weight was real, the heart attacks were real, I think. Where does the character start and end? He uploaded the original 2 Steps Ahead rant 2.5 years ago, which has been renamed and the description has been updated. Are you paying attention or are you too consumed? For those of you who have seen this clip, feel free to skip ahead. I know that both of the 2 Steps Ahead clips have been circulating like crazy.
2 steps ahead. I am always 2 steps ahead. This has been the greatest social experiment I've come to know. It's compelling, it's gripping to bear witness, to observe all these unwell, unbalanced, disoriented beings roam the internet in search of stories.
When he first uploaded this a while back, there were a lot of reactions, a lot of speculation as to how sincere he was being. It was hard to take him seriously at this point because he was acting impulsive and out of control, the opposite of being 2 steps ahead. On Oompaville's channel and other platforms, he denied that he knew what he was doing.
Now, back in January, March, February, a month early in the year, you made a video that a bunch of people reacted to where you said you were 2 steps ahead. You're always 2 steps ahead. Is that real? Or are you actually?
No.
Can you
does it look like it? Does it look like I'm 2 steps ahead?
Can you physically take 2 steps?
Yet, here we are talking about how Nikocado lost the weight and captivated the internet's attention once again. But this time, the attention he gained was more out of respect, not humiliation. He gives an almost identical speech with the same delivery as he did 2.5 years ago.
2 steps ahead.
It's easy to get caught up in the theatrics of the monologue and the shock of the weight loss, so it makes sense that people wouldn't take the message completely seriously. It's Nikocado Avocado after all. He's known for playing a cartoonish character, being overly dramatic, and sacrificing his health for viewership. Plus, it's not really in content creators' interest to talk about the overconsumption of media. The fact that many people don't take his messaging as earnest isn't surprising. The way Nikocado acts in these 2 Steps Ahead videos isn't the same kicking and screaming Nikocado though. They're theatric, they read as over-the-top and maniacal, yes, but what he's saying is true. So what if we took him seriously?
It's gripping to observe all these unwell, disoriented beings roam the internet in search of stories, ideas, rivalries, where they feel encouraged and engaged, where they involve themselves with the stories and become a product of influence.
So far, everything he said checks out, even though it comes off as a bit much. People have always sought to be entertained, but it's not an understatement to say we've never been this saturated, practically marinated in media as a society, and it's not an overstatement to say that's not necessarily ideal.
Thirsty for distraction from time unspent, spoiling their minds, yet stimulating them at the same time. It's brilliant, and it's dangerous.
Content overconsumption can lead to things like a shortened attention span and a disrupted reward system. As cliche as the smartphone bad sentiment may sound, there is a correlation between the rise in mental health issues and social media usage, and there's evidence that suggests that link is causal.
I feel as if I'm monitoring ants on an ant farm. One follows another, follows another, follows another. It's spellbinding. All these little consumers, all of these lost and bored people. People consuming anything that they're told to consume.
A lot of what he's saying and how he's saying it does sound like something out of a movie, and that's probably what he's going for. But he's still right. The fast stories and quick pleasures on the internet make it harder for many to think more long-term, more strategically. Referring to people's behavior online as ant-like isn't so far-fetched. An ant never gets a good look at the bigger picture.
Stories that permeate and infect the minds of the ants, influence the ants, brainwash the ants. You are the ants.
The term brainwash seems harsh because being over-attached to social media is a regular thing. If you're not on social media, you're the odd one out. That doesn't mean that it's good for us or that it's worth our attention. If people from just a few decades ago jumped forward in time and saw the way we behave now, they might call us brainwashed ants too. His speech goes on for about another minute, but it gets more personal and doesn't relate to the point I'm trying to make. And the point I'm trying to make is that we may have a bit of a sincerity problem. It's clear that Nikocado has put in a massive amount of effort to lose the weight and say his piece, yet people have a hard time taking his words at face value. Maybe that says more about his reputation than it does about our culture, and it is understandable that people struggle to take him seriously. But as I've said, he's still right about everything he's saying. Consumerism, the accessibility of non-stop stimulation, the short-sighted compulsive nature of man that's only being encouraged more and more. These are all real issues that demand serious consideration. Which brings us to Asmongold. Before we get into his reaction to the Nikocado weight loss reveal, I should point out this clip from after his reaction.
It's this, Asmongold based. So I did see this. Nikocado Avocado has watched all of the React videos, and mine is the closest to being the truth. This guy's a sociopath? I don't think he's a sociopath or anything. He likes the experience of being able to do it. He is a artistic person, and he views this as something that is manifestation of that art. You have to remember, this guy went to Juilliard, the MIT for art. Yeah, he said it was an experiment. He did. And that was the best part, is he said it was all an experiment the entire time. And I remember watching this and saying to myself, the best part about this is we don't know whether that's true or not. I mean, there's a reason why people watch the show, right? I mean, shit.
According to Nikocado, Asmongold's take was the closest to the truth. This could be interpreted as Asmongold getting most things right, or that the reactions Nikocado has seen are all off the mark and Asmongold's take was only marginally better. Or maybe it's a red herring. Nikocado has misled people on this kind of thing before. So just because Nikocado says that Asmongold's take was the most accurate doesn't mean it isn't worth questioning. Let's look at what he had to say.
How are we so lucky to live in a day and age where we get to watch this? To experience this absolute cinema. He does have the loose skin. And you want to know one of the reasons why I like this? Is that content like this is so over the top and ridiculous that hopefully it will remind some people to take the internet a little bit less seriously. And just try to take a step back and enjoy the experience. Just take a step back. Stop trying to drive and just be a passenger.
There are streamers and content creators who I enjoy who sometimes say something along the lines of, "Don't take the internet seriously." It's a sentiment that I agreed with, but now I realize I may have massively misunderstood what some of those people meant. At first, I thought by saying, "Don't take the internet seriously," they meant don't spend so much time getting invested in things that happen on the internet. Go for a walk, talk to your friends and family, do something better with your time and energy. Asmongold's iteration is far different. When he says, "Don't take the internet seriously," he means keep watching mindlessly and stop thinking, stop having an opinion, especially if it's different than mine, and give up your individuality so you can enjoy the experience of being influenced by people like me, by the people I'm in community with. He talks about taking a step back and enjoying the ride, but what he's really suggesting is becoming more engrossed. He's advocating for the consumer mentality, the ant mentality, so to speak.
I feel like this is the part where it's like the villain arc, like everybody knows that they're a villain. This is like at the end of The Watchmen when Ozymandias blows up the city and he blames it on Dr. Manhattan.
OMG Poggers, Cinema. Guys, have you ever watched the ending of High School Musical? This is exactly like the ending of High School Musical. I've been meaning to make a video on sincerity versus nihilism, and it's a difficult subject to broach. Not long ago, I looked up what YouTube videos there might be on sincerity, and to my surprise, most of the top results were about storytelling and movies. The Cozy Kino Show made a video titled Sincerity, Hollywood's Forgotten Currency, and it was a solid watch. The main idea it conveys is that irony, self-referential humor, and meta-jokes have become so present and expected in movies that it makes it harder to take cinema seriously. As they said when they saw Lord of the Rings for the first time at the age of 17, they were expecting some kind of joke or jab to be made at the movie's expense, only for that to not happen, changing their experience with the trilogy. It is a fascinating observation that the newer, persistent irony in media undermines sincerity, but I wasn't expecting to find videos about sincerity in movies. I was expecting to find videos about how many of us are losing touch with sincerity in the real world. It's nice to know that others are seeing this problem, but it goes beyond movies. It's an increasingly popular attitude towards just about any form of expression.
I think people have like this really unhealthy relationship with like what's real and trying to like discern out what's real on the internet, because I think that you never really know. And so it's like always a person's perception that's making them feel like they have some sort of like higher understanding, or they're like more, they're able to see through the acts of certain people. And it's like, I think even the pursuit, and like maybe this is like, again, maybe a bit much, but I think even the pursuit of trying to find like authentic content on the internet usually ends up being toxic, because like you're just trying to find something and you don't have any way to verify it other than just like what you think about it, right? Other than like professional wrestling where it's like, okay, yeah, we know this is fake.
Yeah.
I just wish people would treat the internet and like making content online more as if it was professional wrestling, right?
First of all, there's nothing wrong with trying to understand people or the media landscape. It's kind of insane that I even have to say that. Second, Asmongold prides himself on acting like he can see through the acts of certain people. That's basically what he says when he talks about Nikocado's Instagram response to him, and that's what he does most streams, understandably so.
I mean, there's a reason why people watch the show, right? I mean, shit. Man.
And so it's like always a person's perception that's making them feel like they have some sort of like higher understanding, or they're able to see through the acts of certain people. And it's like trying to find like authentic content on the internet usually ends up being toxic.
I mean, there's a reason why people watch the show.
It seems like Asmongold wants to have a double standard where his entire career is based off speculation, making assertions and stating his opinions just like a ton of other content creators. But when other people do it, they need to be shamed and reminded that making a case for your perspective is actually toxic.
He was afraid he wasn't going to get paid. You are a fucking retard. You are a fucking moron. You have been sitting here talking shit for hours talking shit. Anytime there's like a woman on screen and she's overweight, like 9 times out of 10, we have to put it in sub mode and we have to ban probably like 30 people every single time. What about overweight girls but not overweight men? I'm gonna ban you just for asking that question, because I just got done making a point out of making fun of a man's appearance, and you're trying to turn this into something it's not. You're permanently banned.
Don't be like as emotional or attached to it.
Most of your relationships are asseted style relationships. Well, how do you know that? That's such a weird thing to say, because you don't know any streamers and no streamers know you. So why would you know anything about their relationship? I know tons of streamers, Dick. No, you don't. You're a loser and you're a nobody, and you're just in chat talking shit for no reason. Nobody cares about you. Get out of here. Got him. All right. Fuck! Take the internet a little bit less seriously.
I guess he's not too good at not taking the internet seriously, and a big part of that is because he's chronically online. That's why the advice of don't take the internet seriously doesn't really work unless you're advocating for people to spend less time on the internet. The more time people spend watching content, the more they'll get attached to watching that content, and the more they'll care about the people making that content. That's what a lot of streamers and influencers are counting on, the mere exposure effect, getting people to watch them regularly simply simply because they're familiar with them. It's basic marketing psychology. Telling people to sit back and enjoy it does nothing to solve the problem of people being too emotionally invested in things on the internet. It's not merely wrestling its influence through social media, and trying to understand that influence isn't a toxic endeavor, it's just bad for Asmongold's business. This puts us in a strange position.
To think people are glazing over the fact Jimmy kept someone that worked on conditions we don't even let criminals in. Jimmy saw someone he knew in incredible suffering and said, get on this treadmill and run a marathon barefoot. Well, yeah, because it's entertaining. Jimmy's making a show. Why would he care about this guy's well-being? Empathy? Because he should? Oh, God. Oh, God. Are we going to get into this cringe shit? Stop it, guys. Stop it. It's so pathetic. Anyway, let me read the rest of this.
Genuine concern is misinterpreted as false empathy or virtue signaling. Yes, there are a lot of people out there who essentially weaponize the concept of compassion, not to provide but to gain leverage. It's beyond annoying. Although now we're dealing with the result of that, people recoiling at the idea of empathy because of how passé it's become. It's demoralizing, and I hesitate to use that word. Even mentioning morality is enough for some people to roll their eyes. I would like to live in a world where we're capable of taking at least some things seriously. I might be asking for too much at the wrong time, and I'm definitely not the best candidate to be the ambassador of sincerity. But hey, if people largely disagree with the things I'm saying, if you think I'm pretentious and cringe, then stop taking the internet so seriously.